Assalamualaikum and a very good day everyone. So today we are going to present about potential and real occupational risk for our assignment for basic laboratory safety for code CHY3003. Our group members consist of Nurul Afiqah, Norsyawaniza, which is me, Wan Nur Athilah, Noranisha, and Anissa Nabila. So, to start our presentation, I will pass to Nurul Afiqah.
Okay, for this start, we are going to talk about the contractor. Okay, so as we know that contractor is a person or company that arranges to supply materials or workers for building or for moving goods. There's a lot of types of contractors such as carpenter, electrician contractor, drywaller contractor, plastering contractor, and many more.
So, there are 5 hazards as contractor. Firstly, false and falling object, chemical exposure, fire hazard, electrical hazard, and repetitive motion injury. For the first hazard, which is false and falling object, a fall hazard is anything in the workplace that could cause an unintended loss of balance or bodily support and result in a fall. Falling object risk would include building materials falling from height as well as tools, nails, bolts, and other construction material used at the site. To prevent falls and falling objects, a suitable training is required for all employees who work at height. Employees should be trained in working on different pieces of equipment and surface, such as how to work safely on scaffolding, ladders, and roof. Next, using netting or restraining bars to keep items placed when they are stored above ground level, so they cannot fall easily if they are disturbed. Lastly, worker is at risk of striking their head in the event of a fall. It is more appropriate for them to wear a climbing helmet rather than a hard hat. A climbing helmet is designed to give protection against falling objects and impact to the head in the event of a fall. Next, I will pass to Nurul Afiqah.
Okay, so I'm going to explain about the chemical exposure that happen when we are being a contractor. Okay, chemical exposure can be defined as measurement or a frequency about a frequency of someone being in contact to chemicals. Okay, there are many types of chemicals that construction workers can be exposed to on a daily basis, such as fuels or lubricant of the machines, and also the bacteria of the sewage and the waste that produced during the construction progress. Okay, for an example, PVC, a familiar chemical, polyvinyl chloride is commonly used in construction as an insulator or our floor. The byproduct of manufacturing and emissions released when PVC begins to break down include ethylene dichloride, vinyl chloride, and dioxin. Prolonged exposure to PVC and dioxin has been clinically reported to contribute to the following health conditions such as cancer, neurological damage, birth defects and cognitive impairment for children, reproductive damage, and endometriosis. And how we could prevent the chemical exposure? As a contractor, it is a must to wear a complete PPE. We know that PPE is a personal protection equipment. It also can prevent us from being in contact with chemicals. For example, the PPE that we need to wear during the construction process is suitable mask like K95 or any mask, industrial glove, ear muff, goggles, head shield, and suitable boots. Okay. The second one is we can control the exposure frequency by manage a scheduled so the contractors not being overexposed to hazardous chemicals. And the third one is we can do engineering controls by reducing or eliminate the hazardous hazard during working. Or we can also replace the chemical with something safer or less hazardous. So I will pass the next piece to Noranisha.
Great. The third hazard is a fire hazard. So the definitions of fire hazard is fire hazards are workplace hazards that either involve the presence of a flame, increase the probability that an uncontrolled fire will occur, or increase the severity of a fire should one occur. So there is a few fire risks during constructions. The number one is hot work. Second is arson. Third is flammable and combustible materials. Fourth is temporary electricals and lighting. So this one is a prevention method. So the first one, which is a hot work. This work include soldering, grading, and welding where the equipment remains hot after the work has been complete. It's not just the lingering heat that can cause a spark. The equipment itself is combustible if a fire does start. The second one is arson. It's an unsecure construction site, may be at risk at vandalism, theft, or an arson. Is having a layered approach to security, including perimeter controls, fencing, lighting, electronic intrusions detection system, and security guards on duty after hours. This can help reduce the risk of unauthorized entry to the site. The third one is flammable and combustible materials. All flammable and combustible liquids and gases should be used and stored so that they do not present a fire hazard to the site. Limit the amount of flammable and combustible material inside the building under constructions and designate safe storage location if there is a flammable and combustible materials lah. And then the fourth one is temporary electricals and lighting. All temporary electrical service and lighting should be installed in accordance with National Electric Code standard. National Electric Code standards. And then the systems and lighting should be maintained and regularly inspected by the electrical contractor. So I pass it to Athilah. Thank you.
Thank you, Anisha. So I will talk about electrical hazards. So what is electrical hazards? Electrical hazards is a dangerous condition such that contact or equipment failure can result in electric shock, arc/burn, thermal burn, or blast. So there are three types of electrical hazards, which are electrical shock, electrical burns, arc blast, which is the effect of blast. There are lots of causes in electrical hazards, such as improper grounding, exposed electrical parts, inadequate wiring, damaged insulation, overloaded circuits, damaged tools and equipment, wet conditions, and contact with overhead power lines. So, there are electrical safety. So for the first one is unsafe use or extension cords. So we need to always unplug cords by pulling on the plug head rather than the cord. Don't press or overstretch electrical cords. Don't fasten cords with staples. Don't hang electrical equipment from cords. The second one is overhead electrical lines. When performing any work or maintenance overhead, beware of electrical lines. Stay at least 10 feet away from any exposed electrical lines while performing overhead work. The last one is operating electrical equipment in wet conditions. So we need to use watertight wiring devices such as plugs, connectors, inlets, outlets, and FD boxes, and corrosion-resistant devices such as connectors and receptacles designed for harsh, wet, and damp location. Making sure the hand tools you are using are insulated. Wear the right gear, including safety glasses, leather work boots, clothing made from flame resistant, and gloves insulated with rubber. And the last is use a GFCI for portable card. So I will pass the next slide to Shawani.
Okay, thank you Athilah for the great explanation about electrical hazard. So the last one, which is the fifth hazard that a contractor can be encountered, is motion hazard, which is repetitive motion injury. Okay, what does it mean by repetitive motion injury? Repetitive motion injury, also called as repetitive stress injuries, which are temporary or permanent injuries to muscles, nerve, ligaments, and tendons caused by doing the same motion over and over again. This injury can usually develop over time and can cause pain, tingling, numbness, and weakness. So first, what can we detect our body if we have symptoms of repetitive motion injury? First, we can feel like pain and tenderness or swelling in the affected muscle or joint, which is the most common symptom. Next, a throbbing or pulsating sensation in the affected area, because the pain that caused in the affected area. So next is tingling, such as in the definition said just now. Tingling, especially in the hand or arm. Next is numbness or loss of sensation, and lastly weakness, loss or loss of strength. So next, what we could do is okay, how does it repetitive motion injury happens? Okay, first, it can cause by overuse of a particular muscle or group muscles. As a result of this overuse, the microscopic tears develop in the tissue. When the body can't repair these tears as fast as they are being made, inflammation occurs and causing pain and other symptoms. Okay, there are some risk factors that cause repetitive motion injury happen. So firstly is improper or poorly fitting equipment, such as we know that a contractor must wear a full PPE protection, because with a poor fitting equipment, it can cause a lot of damage to their body. Next, age, the factor of age, which is we all know that a contractor mostly are men, and a lot of them is quite aging. So it may be affect their motion and maybe their muscle and so on. And lastly is previous injuries. What does it mean by previous injuries? It may be because last time they also have involved in accident, or that cause the pain on the same place, so it can cause repetition motion injury happen. Okay, for prevention, there are a lot of things that someone can do if they are having this type of hazard. So firstly, they must maintain a good body posture. Next, they must implement a job rotation schedule. Next, use mechanical assist and implement engineering control. Try to eliminate or reduce overtime work. Encourage employees to take micro breaks and stretch. And lastly, I think this is the most important part, is to report early signs and symptoms of a complication to a manager so that they can take action on you. And if they neglect what you guys have reported, so it is his responsibility if anything happened to you. And I think that's all from me.
Okay, that's all for our discussion for today. So I can conclude that every work has own risk, and also the employers need to take care of their employees' welfare, such as their safety and also their injury cases if there's any injuries ever happen in a construction program.
Okay, I also agree with just Afiqah said just now. And not also employer, we as an employee, we also must have to take good care of our own safety. Also must be aware by the surrounding to avoid all the hazards that might be occur to us during our work. So what about you, Anisha?
Yeah, I agree with you guys, and it's better prevent than cure.
So the contractor must take the insurance because the insurance can cover the expense that may arise when we get injured. With this personal insurance, we can cover again costs that arise from accident and sickness. So the insurance is such as mighty consultant and public liability insurance.
So I strongly agree with you guys. I think that's all from us. Thank you for listening our discussion. So that's all. Thank you.